Everybody, good morning. It's Dr. Cindy Stark coming in here live for my Tuesday at 10. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I come in here and share with you guys something that is either on my heart or in my brain over and over again. And I know that God is really wanting me to bring this into you guys, share with you tips and tricks on how to run your brain. Today I'm going to do a little bit of both, but before I get started, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Cindy Stark. I'm from Gainesville, Georgia. I'm retired from full-time medicine about 4 months ago, and I have part of what I'm going to talk about is navigating a major season of change in my life, going from being a full-time doctor to being trying to figure out something else I could do that would still utilize all the skills that I got from medical school and graduate school, but also something that would align with my life and my values as I was getting into retirement age. And also, today I want to tell you guys an incredible story about um, what's happened to me over the weekend and what just happened to me on a flight into Chicago. So as you're coming in here live, if you could just like type in hashtag live so I know that you're here. And if you're catching me on the replay, type in hashtag replay so I can say hello. And it's so good to see everybody here this morning. So this weekend I did something. It was time to move my younger son. So I have two children, Jessica and Wyatt, 20 years old and 18 years old. And it was time to move my younger son into the dorm. So officially an empty nester now. And, I've always heard things about that as I was growing up and just how sad and lonely it is. And I was just bound and determined that it wasn't going to happen to me. And not going to shed a tear. I'm going to be happy for him, the whole nine. So we're leaving. We pack up both of our cars. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Len. It's good to see both of y'all. So we're leaving. We pack up both of our cars just full to the brim with everything required for him to move into the dorm. And I my son says to me, Mom, before we head out to Athens, I'm going to go see one of my best friends. He's taken three freshman thespians under his wing while he was a senior, and he wanted to say goodbye to one of them before he left. And I said, Oh, that's so sweet. And so I just texted the mom, and I said, Oh, that's so sweet that my son went to see your son on his way out from to move in. And she said, Cindy, I wanted you to know just how much your son has meant to me and my family. My son's confidence level has just really increased dramatically. We were just talking about it at dinner last night because of your son's mentoring. And I said, Oh my gosh, thank you. I said he just really found a lot of friends. He started looking outside of his own age group, and it was all due to this one particular theater teacher, the director, Coach Joe Harris. So I call up Joe and I said, Joe, listen, I want you to know that when you told those boys early on in their senior year to really prioritize friendships and really sow into your friendships, Wyatt really took that to heart. And he found three freshmen that just to kind of mentor and take under his wing. And I just want you to know as a coach that you really influenced my son. My son influenced this other child, and then us two moms just talked, and you've just like really affected this whole ripple change, this ripple of change, like a ripple effect. And I started bawling my eyes out. I had told myself I was not going to cry, and there I was crying on the drive to Athens. But I'm like, that's okay. I just wanted him to know how much that his presence in my son's life had meant to me, just getting to witness my son loving on this young child. And it just kind of made me realize that at that moment, I'm not, my son is just a great wonderful child, and I'm not going to get to see him as much anymore, but it's time for him to go and you know spread his goodness onto another flock of a community, right, in Athens. So it was just a really emotional moment. Well, so as I realized that, then I kind of had pulled myself together, and we went out there to move him in. And I noticed something that happened, and I wanted to share that with you. And then this morning, and then something just happened on the flight that just like really solidified it. So it's like two ends of the spectrum: someone holding boundaries and someone not holding boundaries. And my message to you today is that you need to hold boundaries for yourself, whether it's for your emotional well being or whether it's for your relationships that you want to grow and maintain and multiply and flourish, or whether it's your physical health so that you can perform and so that you can win in life. Okay, because without your mental and your excuse me, your emotional well-being, you're just a ball of nerves all the time. You can't sleep, you're kind of anxious. Hashtag ask me how I know. And then also without you maintaining your physical health boundaries, boundaries to keep your physical health in place, you're not going to be able to affect the change that you want in life. And then if you don't put boundaries around prioritizing the important friendships in your life, then you're going to be, without friends or friends that are meaningful to you. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today, and just wanted to share with you how these two completely opposite ends of the spectrum showed up in my life, in just a 2 day period. So we were going to move Wyatt into his dorm, and we have a 1 hour window that we can like park in this certain space and then rent a little cart. Okay, so our time was at 3:30. And so I took the 3:30 shift, 3:30 to 4:30, and his dad took the 4:30 to 5:30 shift. And I went out and I'd spent the evening with some friends and with my mom. And Wyatt said, I don't want y'all in my dorm for more than 2 hours. So, mom, you get 1 hour, dad, you get 1 hour. And then I'm going to go. They had this amazing social event in the quad where he lives, where you get to ride a mechanical bull, and they had all this food. And he just wanted to go out and start making new friends. And so, sure enough, it was just like 1 hour, 1 hour, everybody was out of the campus. And he got to do what he wanted to do, and I got to do what I wanted to do. So, it was just like, kick ass, Wyatt. That's great that and he's like, I'm sorry if that's being rude, and I'm like, no, it's not being rude. You are actually doing what you need to do, and you're creating boundaries for yourself, and you're getting to see me and your dad and your friends. So it's all great. And then I kind of had checked on him. I guess we moved him in Sunday, and now today's Tuesday, and I just was making sure that he's kind of pacing himself, because every time that he's either FaceTimed me or whatever over the last 2 days, hey mom, he's been around like 20 guys are just like always around him, and I said, I just want you to, I don't want to micromanage you, but just pace yourself and make sure you still get some rest and make sure you eat. And he said, oh my god, the dining halls are so great here, the food is so great. And I said, make sure you drink plenty of water, because it's just so hot outside. And I said, I know that you know all this, so I'm not trying to micromanage you. And he said, no, I appreciate it, and I'm eating and I'm resting and I'm drinking water, so that's great. And and I realized that his whole entire life, especially when he was in baseball, like I always made sure to do anything I could to set that kid up for success. And whether it was, getting his uniform ready, or, making sure we had the right baseball hat or tons of food, all this stuff, the sleep. And it's mostly sleep. And this is going to become important in just a second. Sleep, water, and rest. And then stress reduction. Okay. But sleep, water, and rest are the three things that a human being needs. And I just don't think sometimes that we as adults, especially in the medical profession, that sometimes we take care of ourselves. I do not think we take care of ourselves. We kind of like live on candy and coffee, and we're just like going from one trauma to another trauma to another trauma. And we don't even realize what we're doing that's actually thwarting our efforts at any kind of success in life. So anyway, it leads me to my flight this morning. So I had gotten the 5:45 a.m. flight to Chicago. um, I made sure last night I got to go to bed at 9 p.m. I made sure to get up early enough to drink plenty of water and have a proper breakfast, so that I could, I wasn't going to fall apart at the seams in the middle of the flight, because you never know when things are going to be delayed. And I didn't think anything would be open in the airport at that time, and it wasn't. So I was doing great. Unfortunately, someone else that was in my midst was not doing great. And in the middle of the flight, maybe about 45 minutes in, I look up and I'm just like chilling, listening to some music. And I look up and there's a grown man down on the aisle, completely on his back, unresponsive. And I'm like, oh goodness, I know the next thing they're going to say is there a doctor and on the plane? And so I just quietly took out both of my AirPods, put them in, put my purse down, and And I just watched the flight attendants as they took care of this man. They picked him up, tried to walk him to the back of the plane. He was already down on his back. When they picked him up to try to walk him, he then fell forward, face forward, onto this whole aisle of people, just face forward right into their aisle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is everybody okay? Anyway, a bunch of us, I was the only doctor on the plane, and there was a nurse on the plane. We took the gentleman back to the back of the plane and started talking to him. And I don't know if I don't know how many nurses I have on the live this morning. There you go, Donna. I knew you were here. So like I only really shine as a doctor when nurses like Donna are there. That's really the only time I ever want to be a doctor. If I'm being honest with you, is when my nurses are with me. I have I'm used to a very high caliber of nurses, and just very spoiled by that. I mean, they make us look great because they do everything. They know how to push the medicines. They know how to start the IVs. They just know how to do everything. It makes my job really easy. Well, so this gentleman was down. He's now had 2 ground level falls and he's unresponsive. And I'm like, oh boy. So what can I do? Like I'm trying to talk to him. He starts coming to a little bit, and I'm like, the only tools I have are my voice, my presence, and my hands. And so I start feeling his pulse, okay? And all I could tell is that he had a very thready pulse, but he was starting to talk. And I, asked him, do you have a seizure disorder? No. Do you have diabetes? No. Are you on medications? No. How old are you? 31. And I said, did you go out drinking last night? Were you partying? And he said, no. He said, I actually feel fine. I just want everybody to leave me alone. I feel fine. And I said, I'm sorry, but you're not fine. You're laying down. Like we had gotten him to the back of the plane after the 2nd ground level fall. He's still on the ground on his back and he's not moving, but he's saying he's fine. And I said, well, just talk to me. Talk to me. What's going on? Like, what happened last night? What happened this morning? And I said, there's all these flight attendants had gathered, and they said, do we need to land the plane? And I said, don't land the plane yet. Let me just talk to him for a minute. Just give me a second. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, I'm really stressed out. I don't like flying. And I was sharing with the flight attendants, it's really hard for people like me that don't do this for a living or do this very often. They wake up in the 3 o'clock hour and get to an airport at the 4 o'clock hour. Hey, Jessica, so you know this story too, being an amazing nurse. And this is all this the rest of the story is all in love of my nurse friends. Okay, so props to all the great nurses that I met in Gainesville, Georgia, for all these 16, 17 years that I've practiced there. Anyway, so he said, I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I didn't sleep at all last night, and I'm extremely stressed right now. And I said, we need to get a set of vitals. Well, again, if you're in a clinic or if you're in a hospital, that's great. You can get a set of vitals like that. Well, we're in a plane and we're at flying altitude, and thank goodness they had a blood pressure cuff. Well, this nurse, who of course, these are all strangers on this plane, she starts taking his blood pressure. I said, you can let me take his blood pressure. She said, no, I'll take it. And she didn't really look like she knew how to work the blood pressure cuff. And I didn't know in that moment kind of how to take over and without looking like I was thinking I was better than her or that I was being rude or that I was questioning her. But she just like, I saw her. She tried to take his blood pressure. She said, this is broken, and passes all the equipment over to the flight attendants and said, all this equipment needs to be replaced. And I said, gosh, I really want to I want you to move out of my way and let me have at have at those supplies and let me try to take the gentleman's blood pressure because I've been doing this since I was in 3rd grade. So anyway, I came up on the spot with something and I said, hey, excuse me, can I just try the blood pressure cuff? Because I have a trick that I might know. I used to take blood pressures a lot when I was in 3rd grade. I'm just going to try this little trick. And sure enough, the blood pressure cuff was fine. She just hadn't screwed the little, thing down to make that bladder fill up with air. And so all the air was just going straight out of the blood pressure cuff. His blood pressure was 80/30. And again, he was sitting up, but he still wasn't really acting 100% normal. I said, y'all, we need to get him water. We need to get him orange juice, get him a snack. He said, I'm too nauseous to eat. Anyway, long story short, he drank 4 glasses of orange juice, 2 glasses of water. At that point, the nurse says, I want you to chew this piece of gum because I need your blood sugar to go up. I don't know what your blood sugar is because there's no way to check blood sugar when you're, however many thousand of feet up in the air. And she gave him a piece of sugar-free extra gum, which I thought was kind of funny. That she said, like, I'm going to get your blood sugar up with sugar-free gum. And I just said, gosh, Cindy, I'm so glad that you spoke up and checked his blood pressure. I told the flight attendants we don't need to land the plane. We can go ahead and land. They said, we're going to start our descent in 10 minutes. We'll be on the ground in 31 minutes. And I said, that's great. And anyway, it just dawned on me. And whenever God puts two completely dichotomously opposed things into my life in less than a 24-hour span, I said, well, this must be something that I need to bring to the people this morning. So I was just telling my son, pace yourself, eat, drink, and rest, and make sure you manage your stress to succeed in college, right? And now here's this young guy, he's 31, and he hadn't done any of that. And we almost had to land the plane early. He got taken off, I thought, in an ambulance. I ended up seeing him later on. So he checked out okay. He just needed to eat a meal is what he needed, and he needed to get some sleep. But I thought, he could spend the rest of his day in a hospital or in an ambulance, and this whole entire flight could have had to be landed, you know, in West Virginia or whatever, because it probably happened when we were above that. And it just also made me realize that you really need to, whatever it is that you do in your life, you need to trust yourself. And if you think that your skill set could help in a situation, just speak up. And because I helped this guy get a proper blood pressure, and then see what the treatment needed to be, and that we could land. And it made me realize there were so many times in my life a long time ago where I didn't really trust myself, and I did not. Oh, you did, Jessica? Oh my gosh. Jessica's saying, woohoo, I had a very similar experience with a lady on Delta. And Lynn is saying, great job taking control and setting boundaries with care. Yeah, I've never been on an airplane where that had happened. And um, anyway, what I was saying a second ago is there was a time in my life where I didn't think I could trust myself. And there was a part of me, I think, that didn't think I was worth taking proper care of myself and setting those boundaries. I would just have, you know, put myself in situations, moving my son in, that would have really, really increased my anxiety, instead of taking shifts. And then I would have told Wyatt, "Oh no, just let us all take you out to dinner." And I would have like tried to maybe even talk him out of like prioritizing and putting the boundaries around his own time so he could be with his friends. And there were definitely times when I didn't eat and drink and rest enough. And I mean, I never passed out, but that was so scary to me. Seeing this gentleman, this very healthy, very young man, having two ground level falls, right in front of me. And anyway, it ends up he was walking when I had gone out to the airport, and he said he was a medical student, and he didn't want to tell anybody he was a medical student on the plane because he was so embarrassed at the state of health he was in right then. And I said, "Oh my gosh," I said, "that reminds me of when I was pregnant and had a kidney stone, and I didn't want to admit to anybody that I had a kidney stone because I should have been able to treat myself." And I just think that medical professionals sometimes are the worst, even though we know the most about physical health. We're the worst at implementing it in our own bodies and lives to affect a change. And I just wanted to challenge all of you guys that if you're struggling with, if it keeps happening over and over with you again, where you're either not prioritizing your health, and so you're not in the state of health that you want to be in, or you're not putting boundaries on yourself, and you're putting yourself in stressful situations, so your relationships aren't what they want to be, and you're not putting your time and attention toward the relationships that you want to grow and flourish, and then you're sabotaging yourself in the in the meantime by being a very stressed out all the time, or having excessive carb cravings or sugar cravings or whatever it may be. Just know that sometimes what it is that's causing us to be that stressed out all the time, and that self-sabotaging about our physical health and everything else, is that you might have some sort of a subconscious limiting belief running your whole entire life, like I did, that you don't trust yourself, or that you're not worth it, you're not worthy. And so if you think that just trying over and over again and repeating the same behavior over and over again and hitting the brick walls all the time is going to fix it. I'm just here to tell you, if you're over 35 years old and you haven't figured certain things out, I mean, I'm 51. I finally realized the problem is that my subconscious mind was just full of all kinds of limiting beliefs and negative emotions and just kind of baggage from my childhood. I mean, like by the time you get to be a certain age, you have a lot of baggage is back here in your subconscious mind that's clogging up your filters, for lack of a better word. And there are ways to get all that out so that you can flourish and so that you can win in your life. Yes, and Lynn is right. So you can get your mind and your body and your soul in balance, you know? Uh, None of us are just bodies. We're all a mind and a body and a soul, the Holy Trinity. And until you get all three of those working together, you're going to be just kind of spinning your wheels and not living your life like you want to. So, if any of this is resonating with you, two things I ask of you. Number one is share it on your story, on your timeline, because I'll make it where it's shareable. And number two, if you're not living the life that you want to live, just reach out to me. Because when I decided, talk about seasons of change, when I decided when I was 51 years old, I really wanted to retire from medicine. It was in the middle of COVID. I was extremely burned out. Um, I decided to stay on and stay part time and find a way that could practice medicine that would benefit me and really be in alignment with where I was in my life at this time in my life. And so I prioritized myself. I'd said I wanted to retire, and then I pivoted and I stayed on and I just stayed part time. And now I'm having the best of both worlds. So during the day, for 5 days a month, I get to be a doctor, and I found an independent contracting job. But then the other 26 days a month, I run the Soul Circle Academy, and that's all I do is that I go in there and I teach people a lot of one-on-one time, some group time. We also align your mind and your soul and your energy and your spirit. And we get everything firing on all cylinders so that you can get rid of the subconscious blocks once and for all. You learn a community of like minded men and women that are doing the same exact thing as you. And it's my passion to bring this kind of level of healing where everything is all inclusive and not just separate, you know? And so that's what I do. That's what I've created, and it will be my joy and my honor and my privilege just to kind of like walk you through what that looks like and see if you're want to do something like that, if you're ready for it. So just DM me. But guys, it's been my pleasure to be here with you this morning. I feel like it's like story time, telling you guys about these crazy stories in the dorm and in the airplane, but they were so similar. And like I said, on such opposite ends of the spectrum, I just had to come in here and share this. So I hope it served you this morning. It was so good to be here. I love you all, and I will be back next Tuesday at 10. Y'all take care. See you then.